The fourth point of the 4-point programme is balancing momentary and enduring satisfactions, or lifestyle balance. So let's listen to a 15-minute lecture on this important topic by Dr. Mikla Bishop.
Now, there's no doubt that point 4 has presented a problem for SMART. It's the thinnest in your coordinator's manual. Let's quickly look at the point is that we're supposed to balance momentary and enduring satisfactions of life. Well, what does that mean? Well, momentary, we know what that means, right? That's in the very short run. And enduring means long-lasting. And satisfactions are activities, memories that give us a satisfied feeling. Well, why do they give us a feeling of satisfaction? Because they're in line with our goals and our values. And it seems to me that this is the spiritual the part of SMART recovery, the existential part, if you want to. You know, what is the meaning and purpose of life? And it is the carrot. I mean, you're not going to these meetings, it's just to stop drinking. That's just not enough of a reason. You have to have a larger reason to do all this work. There's got to be a better reason for that, right? William Glasser in Reality Therapy initiated the idea of asking 3 questions. What do you want? Then what are you doing? And how do you like it? What do you want? Oh, I want to have a good relationship with my children and my wife. I want to get ahead in my job. What are you doing? I'm drinking every night. How do you like it? Well, it gets tricky now, right? Because do you mean while I'm doing it, or do you mean tomorrow morning? All right? And even what do you want gets tricky. So you have to look at the differences between what you want in the immediate. I want some relief to feel better. Now notice I'm beginning to pay more attention to the interaction between feelings and time. I want to socialize better. And then in 2 hours or tomorrow, I want to have a cleaner apartment, or I want to do well on an exam, or I don't want to be in jail because I didn't get arrested for fighting. And in the long run, I might want to have more friends or to have a job with health benefits. Now, interestingly enough, in motivational interviewing, the key technique is to develop a discrepancy between what people say they want and what they're doing, and to feed that back to them and encourage them to look at it by asking what I use the Columbo technique. Remember the old Peter Falk detective? You know, he started out with 14 hypotheses at the beginning of the show, and then, you know, he'd always turn around and say, "Can I ask one more question? Just one more question?" So you kind of sit there, not judging, but just, I can't quite follow this. I thought that you wanted to feel better, you look miserable, and yet you had a drink every single night. Could you elucidate? Now, the Declaration of Independence, of all things, says we have a right to a pursuit of happiness. But what's that? How many of you are happy right now? Really? It's interesting. Okay. That's nice. I'm glad. So many. Okay. You know, over time, what do you want to feel? Content? Self-actualized? When you're at work, what would you like to feel? Competent? Yes, I agree. What else? How many of you are happy at work? That's very nice. You're lucky. Right. But Tom, when you're working with a client, right at that moment, would you call that? Would you say you're happy? See, I would say no, you're something else, because there's a lot of... Right, but you're responsible, right? As a professional, you're working, so to me, happiness is something, it's a byproduct, or it's when I'm skiing, but It's not when I'm working with somebody, because that's serious. So for me, I want to feel engaged. I want to feel challenged, but not too much. No? I want to feel somewhat confident and calm, right? Now, there are other times, however, when I want to feel zoned out. That's at the end of the day when I'm watching, West Wing, just kind of zoning out. And everybody likes to feel aroused, not just sexually, although everybody does, but also aroused in the sense of the feeling you get when you're skiing or when it's a challenging, let's say if I'm a therapist. So, my arousal level clearly goes up, not sexual, but the simply physiological level goes up when it's a challenging problem, an interesting situation. I think, Joe, when you're sitting there trying to figure out, what does that mean? I'll just have one, and the guy's done it 1,000 times. What the hell's going on here? So these are things we want. We know things we don't want. We don't want to feel bored. That's for sure. We don't want to feel underutilized. We don't want to feel incompetent, which should be on that, and I forgot that one, because in sexual addictions, the issue of competency is almost always there. Maybe all of my clients who have sexual addictions are males, and they almost always fall back into addictive behavior at a moment when they started or anticipated they were going to feel incompetent. They started to try to write a report at work, and at lunchtime they went to a lap dancing place. Or they started to try to do this financial analysis, and they clicked over to a porn site. They're working at home. Most people are not that stupid to do it at work anymore, although they were at times. That issue of feeling, I'm about to feel incompetent, drives men nuts. And I think quite a lot of women as well, but they do something else when they start to feel that way, where men somehow feel competent when they've paid somebody to have sex with them. Now, if that won't give you something to think about. So we have, it seems to me, emotional goals. And in cognitive behavioral therapy, there's a lot of talk about, and even in our program, maybe too much talk about what we want to do behaviorally. I want to buy a new house. I want to get a new job. When in fact, what are we really trying to do? We're trying to take care of our feelings over time. We want to have a feeling of well-being or a feeling of confidence. And how do you do that? Well, you do it by developing a balanced lifestyle which tries to maximize your enjoyment and sense of well-being over time by balancing momentary and enduring satisfactions of life. Now, what kind of techniques might help? Well, give out a piece of paper, and I was going to do it with you folks, but we don't have enough time. Ask people to take a piece of paper and write down their goals, short, medium, and long term. Ask them to fill out the change plan workshop, which is in your coordinator's manual. It's the first sheet. Rabbi Hillel, who is the rabbi who gave us the golden rule, although he was the one, he gave it to us in a different form, and somebody turned it around, I don't know. Most of you know, do unto others that you would have them do. The rule he gave was, don't do unto others that you would not have them do unto you. And there again, if you'd like to think about something, those are really quite different rules. But he knew how to give rules, how to write a declarative sentence. And yet, those are the three questions that have to do with figuring out how much should I take care of me and how much should I give to others. And the last question suggests to me that it's a question you have to ask every day, maybe every hour. Should I give time to my wife, or should I finish this memo? Should I give time to SMART, or do I absolutely have to call somebody and say, I can't do it today. Rod, would you please fill in for me this evening, okay? I find this exercise, and it was the one I was going to do with you, the most helpful. Take a piece of paper, divide it into 3, and write down, what do you do for self-maintenance? Self-maintenance includes chores. It includes work that you do because you need to pay the rent. What do you do for fun? For me, fun doesn't have any responsibilities. So fun is watching TV, hanging out, eating, talking. And what do you do for self-development? What turned you on when you were 3 or 4? When you got those blocks all stacked up? Come, look, I got them all stacked up. Look, I can drink out of a cup. That's always caused people to feel good when they learn new things. What are you doing for self-development? When I ask my clients, people in SMART, to fill this in, I often find that the fun column is practically empty. They really don't know anymore. They can't have fun without having a weed first. Going to the movies is no fun without a joint. Hanging out with friends is no fun without a joint. And cocaine is almost worse because they've gotten used to this high hit of dopamine. Nothing else can match it. So mothers will abandon their children because it's not strong enough. The maternal hormones are not enough. And so how do you override that? How do you get enough awareness to know this is a chemical that's screwing up my ability to enjoy myself? Because of course that whole issue of how much are you enjoying yourself has to do with how much dopamine is, or some other neurotransmitter is coming into your system. Now we can use an ABC even for lifestyle balance issues, right? We can ask ourselves, now, what am I doing to keep myself from learning a new language? How do I keep convincing myself that it would be too hard to learn how to tango, even though it would be really fun to know how to do that? So we can go back to the ABCs and ask ourselves questions which would help. That is the point that what we're talking about in the third and the fourth point are, in my opinion, that there are 5 ways to work on yourself. You can work on the way you think. You can work on how you feel. And of course, those interact. You can work on behaviorally. And of course, those affect how you feel and how you think. You can work spiritually. And I ask people if they're religious, well, are you going to church? Are you going to temple? High holy days are coming up. Why aren't you? What are you telling yourself? My husband died. I always went with my husband. And I can't bear going to temple without my husband. That's what I like about being a coordinator or a therapist. What do you say when somebody says that to you? Okay. A fifth way, and that's chemicals, right? Medications and a better diet, watching what you're eating. Because, of course, even in AA, they tell you, don't get hungry, right? Angry, lonely, or tired, right? Okay, thank you very much.